That's coming. So I want to thank you for elaborating on that. My name is Scott Kramer. I'm 58 years old. I was born not far from here in Atlantic, Iowa, and raised on a farm in Cass County. I graduated from the University of Iowa in 1977 with a degree in English and a teaching certificate. I moved to California in 1979 and lived there until just 2 years ago when I returned to live on my home farm. I'm living there with my father, who is now 92 years old. I've been working as a substitute school teacher since I returned home. I didn't teach while I was in California. Instead, I worked as a carpenter, then a building contractor. But finally, I changed careers and became a paralegal. I was the case manager for a San Francisco firm that represented injured workers, mostly longshoremen who had been injured on the docks. I also spent 6 years working for criminal defense attorneys. I was deeply involved helping them with marijuana cases, and I became something of an expert at marijuana defense. In fact, prominent defense attorneys called me for recommendations for expert witnesses in obscure scientific disciplines. In 1995, I attended the hearing in the Kylo case out of Oregon, which was ultimately decided in Kylo's favor by the U.S. Supreme Court in 2001. I recommended that Kylo's lawyer hire a certain infrared expert for that case. I would like to take credit for that now because Kylo's lawyer blamed me when he was losing the case in lower courts. So I want to thank you for holding this hearing because it strikes me as a very reasonable approach to the medical marijuana problem. I'm sure you're aware of the process by which the federal scheduling of marijuana was challenged in the 1980s by a group of activists. The activists will forever quote the administrative law judge's statement regarding marijuana at the conclusion of those hearings. No doubt you've heard it several times by now and have many copies in the paperwork that has been submitted to you. The interesting thing to me, however, is the difference between that process and this one. The difference being who is being given jurisdiction to make a recommendation regarding marijuana. In the federal hearings, it was the Drug Enforcement Agency, the DEA, who made the decision. The DEA is an elite group of drug police. To me, asking the DEA to rule on marijuana is like asking the fox to guard the hen house. The fox has a professional interest in eating or arresting the hens, not helping them deal with physical ailments. The hens don't typically go to the fox and ask for medical advice. The fox is not a veterinarian. So it is no surprise that the DEA ignored both the carefully presented evidence and the strong recommendation of their administrative law judge. They kept marijuana scheduled as a dangerous drug with no potential medical value and relegated it to the same category as heroin and LSD. So it's really nice to see marijuana's potential medical value being considered by the Iowa Board of Pharmacy, not the Iowa Bureau of Criminal Investigation. I think it's a testament to some good old level-headed thinking by Iowans to put pharmacists in charge of drug recommendations instead of police. Police are functional experts at maintaining public order and safety, not biochemistry and medical matters. It seems to me that the police should be following your guidance, not vice versa. But at the federal level, it hasn't worked out that way. I voted for Proposition 215 in California, the nation's first medical marijuana law. I did not, however, work on medical marijuana defenses, although I consulted with some of the leading proponents of medical marijuana. I also had several personal friends who had medical marijuana recommendations from their doctors. I do not have such a recommendation, nor have I ever sought one. I got some photographs from the website of one of the leading medical marijuana dispensaries the Harborside Health Center in Oakland, California. I've never been to this establishment since it requires a medical recommendation to get in. The photos are a good representation of what the medical marijuana movement can become if it is legal. I'm including a two-page printout with text and photos describing Harborside's laboratory analysis program. It seems to me that this is the minimal standard that all marijuana dispensaries should aspire to. Obviously, this level of professionalism was impossible prior to laws allowing enough freedom for it to develop. With the help of committed activists, police, and other officials dedicated to enforcing the law, California has slowly worked out many of the kinks following the 1996 passage of its medical marijuana law. The full text of California's Proposition 215 has only 359 words. It has often been criticized for being too loosely worded, which means it didn't give enough guidance. The full text of the proposed law currently submitted to the Iowa Senate has 10,649 words and ran to 26 single-spaced pages when I printed it. The problems the California law didn't solve have been discovered and dealt with in advance by the proposed Iowa statute. For many years, I've heard various estimates of the value of illegal marijuana crimes. These estimates come from both police and marijuana legalization advocates, and even in some instances from agricultural agents, county agricultural agents. Frequently, the estimates rank marijuana at or near being the highest dollar agricultural crop in the nation. Estimates are difficult to make, but in any case, the value is certainly high. All that money is floating around out there, unseen, unregulated, untaxed. If you look around at Iowa farms and consider that even a fraction of the value of all the farm products and services you can see, all the tractors, silos, trucks, farms, houses, and bank accounts, is also floating around out there in a hidden economy of marijuana assets. Maybe not in Iowa, but somewhere. When you get some idea of just how big the marijuana business is. No doubt you know that marijuana, or cannabis sativa, was an accepted drug in the U.S. pharmacopoeia until a wave of scare stories led it to be hastily banned by Congress in 1937. This was over the objection of the American Medical Association. Now, except for the recent creation of legal medical marijuana markets, all of the vast underground marijuana economy is operating without any reasonable controls or legal safeguards. Since the 1960s, marijuana use has burgeoned, while the drug has remained completely illegal. Nothing suggests that criminal penalties for all marijuana users will stop this market. Certainly, it has also been established that many people, rightly or wrongly, persist in using marijuana for medical benefits they believe it confers, regardless of the law. We can either continue considering these people criminals or exercise the option to bring them under legal control. They can obey the law and still have their marijuana, but the law can specify how many of them get it, what they get it for, how the drug is produced, who produces it, who sells it, how much is taxed, when it is sold, where it is sold, how pure it is, etc., etc. It's really ironic, don't you think, that marijuana advocates are coming to you and literally begging you to be placed under legal regulation, literally begging to give the state power over their lives. It seems like everyone else in the world is trying to get government out of their hair, always complaining about government regulation, taxes, big brother and such. But here we have a group of people who are begging for government regulation. Yet the only regulation the government wants to give them is jail, at great expense to the taxpayer, while a huge black market thrives wholly untaxed. Jail hasn't worked. Let's try finding a middle ground between jail and no law whatsoever. Let's move forward, not just to allow doctors to recommend it, but to make it possible for doctors and pharmacists at the University of Iowa and scientists at other schools to study the uses and benefits. Surely tax money from the sale of medical marijuana could be earmarked for such purposes, possibly even producing patents on new medicines extracted or synthesized from the variety of cannabinoids in the plant. Let's bring cannabis back into the pharmacopoeia where it was once a medicine for many generations. Thank you for your time.